We've got a lot of questions coming in, and
we'll go faster.
Rick, a lot of them are about your favorite topic, and that is multiples.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, we all go to events where certain people stand on stage and they rattle off your business is worth X times. So what are the multiples?
All right, I'll go first. We need you too, Rex, right? And we need you too, Patrick. So how can I do this briefly? So multiple is shorthand. It was invented by people a long time ago, not me, to sort of discuss how a deal went amongst financial people. So that it was shorthand for what'd you pay for the company. It's the stuff iBankers used to do behind closed doors, venture capital people used to do behind closed doors, investors do behind closed doors a long time ago. It's also based on quote unquote EBITDA, which is not a GAAP accounting principle. There's no such thing as EBITDA in GAAP accounting. It's a made up thing. Most people don't know that. And if you have any debt at all, including your credit card debt, or you owe your mom money on your balance sheet, you can't use EBITDA as an actual harbinger of your cash flow. It's not right. It's called free cash flow in GAAP accounting. So when people talk about multiples of EBITDA, certainly Warren Buffett and a lot of other people talk about EBITDA, schmebida, and so forth and so on. Won't get into that now. But we're all a big believer in free cash flow. So the idea that that's sort of jargon for free cash flow. If you have zero debt on your balance sheet, you're not doing any kind of debt service, including your credit cards at all, then your EBITDA number that you would calculate the way you calculate EBITDA would be a proxy for your free cash flow. Okay, so there's two different kinds, and I'll go quickly because I could do like days on this. But there's the seller's version of a multiple, and there's the buyer's version of a multiple. Okay, and I'm going to use the ConnectWise deal as a really good example. I'm not going to go book and verse for every dollar, but everybody talked about what the multiple was that Arnie sold his company for, and that was a lot of interesting back and forth on the press. But then they promptly announced a lot of people that were being laid off. I think it was 250 some odd people were being laid off. A couple of divisions were being sort of moved around and shut down. So the buyer benefited, and it was in their plan when they bought the company to right size the company in such a way to help them make sure that what they were going to pay for the company is going to have some sort of defined repayment window over time. All right. I want to break even on this deal in 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever your time horizon is up to the individual buyer. I don't think anybody's going to wait 10 years to get their money back out of a deal. So they're going to do something when they buy the company to make it work with synergies in their business. And they've got a plan, the buyer does, on what they're going to do with it. So, hey, we've got company A, company B, we're going to put the companies together. How much money do those two companies generate? How much money do I need to give to the seller to make them say yes and be a good deal for them? And how much do I need to keep for me to make it a good deal for me, right? For my client. And that's where deals are born, but also that's where the multiples diverge. Because as a buyer, if I have a company that's generating $200,000 worth of free cash flows from EBITDA, but I think I can make it perform at $400,000. Let's say for some reason I wanted to pay that person $2 million, right? So that seller would tell everybody, I got 10 times my EBITDA for the company. But the buyer paid 5 times in their mind because they think they can get $400,000 of performance out of the company. And that's where the two multiples diverge. So, on the one hand, there's plenty of people that say I got 10 times this times however much, for my company from a seller's perspective, but that's based on the way they ran the company and the money that the company was making when they owned it. The buyer, you don't see a bunch of stuff, and we certainly don't publicize a buyer's multiple list and buyer's value list. But generally speaking, the buyers want to break even, in 48, 60 months, right? Which is more like they need to be in that 4, 4.5, 5 times buyer side multiple, which in fact might be a 20 times multiple on what the seller did with the company. But I saw the company, I see value in that company. I'm willing to pay you this much money because I know what I'm going to do with the company together with you. And whether or not they're coming along for the ride and who's making the trip, and whether it's the owners that come along, being part of the executive team, and everything could be wonderful. So we do all kinds of great deals. Lots of people are very happy after deals done. Small minority have an issue with the stuff we work on. At least we're lucky that way, knock on wood. But that's where the multiple conversation is so hard to communicate. Does that make sense? I hope that helped everybody, because that's the God's honest truth.